Hey everyone, I'm Anna and this is my realistic first month of game development ever. I literally didn't have a clue what game dev is about. If you didn't know, I actually have a zero devlog on my channel, which is a story of how I got here. Just like a little story about me and how I started game development. I'm actually really nervous right now because I don't have any script and I am not native in English, as you can tell. So I decided that I will better be myself in these videos, and I'm sorry in advance for your ears because I will make a lot of mistakes as I talk to you, so sorry. So when I just started, as I said, I had no clue of how to make a game, so I did a ton of research and watched a lot of videos of game developers, and I kind of made a list of tasks of what I need to do, and the main ones are: choose the engine, assemble mood board and find inspiration, choose software for art, learn to create and implement very basics, follow a few tutorials and make a few turnarounds and start a new project, of course. So the first task was the engine. All I knew about game engines is that there is Unity and Unreal Engine. And what I also knew is that Unreal Engine is kind of the best stuff, and I was like, well, I need to use the best stuff. So I started to download the Unreal Engine and I was shocked at how heavy it is. And I have an old MacBook Pro with Intel chip in it. Yes, that old. So while downloading it, I already realized that it's not gonna work. It's too heavy for my setup and I canceled it, and then I went to YouTube to see if there's something else because I kind of had a taboo for Unity in my head because I saw some random pictures about Unity with its UI, and it's so complicated, it's so difficult, and as a software engineer I can tell whenever the UI is too complicated, the application itself will be heavy and it will do a lot of unnecessary stuff. And everything I heard about Unity Next, it's kind of what Unity do all the time. I was trying to find something else, and luckily I found free open source engine that is very lightweight and very easy and very simple in terms of UI. It's Godot, and it kind of reminds me of VS Code if someone can relate to it, can understand what I'm talking about, and I really liked it. So I downloaded it and immediately I just turned on the 15-minute tutorial of how to build a very small and simple platformer game in Godot and just followed it, and just to dip my toes in it, to get familiar with it. And the next task was the mood board. So my main inspiration for the game are Stardew Valley, Chef RPG and Witchbook, of course. This game isn't released yet even, but we have a few trailers, as I believe, and a lot of screenshots, and when I saw it I immediately fell in love with the style, with art, with the idea, with everything around it. It looks really modern and stylish, but it's still pixel art. They have really brilliant and very talented artists. This game is in development for almost 10 years. What can I say? Of course it will be a banger, and it's gonna be really hard to compete with them for a lot of other games. I'm not even trying to. And the last component of my mood board was the Arcane series. I'm not familiar with League of Legends world myself, I wasn't playing the game, but I watched the show and I fell in love with it. This is my favorite show of all times. So I really like the idea and the concept of the world because it is like a combination of magic and the tech. This is my two favorite things basically. And I like the idea of how they utilize the magic in a way that people are not able to do magic themselves. They just use the magic as a power source. Next, what I did with my mood board is that I had to generate some references with AI. In the previous video, I shared my struggles with having visuals in my head, so I have mostly feelings of what I want to do, I don't see how I want it to be. So I really needed to generate something to choose from. So I went to AI and generated some images, and I think it looked pretty good for something to start with. And as I fell in love with the witch book art style, I decided to go with isometric style. I thought if I will start to learn pixel art and drawing anyway, so I will just start with that. Like, what's the difference, right? Right? Not right. I will tell you later. Also, I generated a character reference which turned out really pretty. I also tried to generate a side view and realized that I will have to draw each character in 8 directions, and it is unreal to do with AI. So, a quick explanation here about AI and using it for game assets. We cannot use AI to generate game assets just yet. We can use it for generating inspiration, maybe some references, maybe some stuff that we can, I don't know, trace or mirror, but then can tweak it and improve it, because right now AI generate every time a new image until the Nana Banana stuff came out this summer, and it really did change the game, but not that much. Yes, now they can make changes to your picture, but it still works pretty bad. People just sometimes overrating AI for like generating images and stuff. Well, when I decided about the art style, I had to pick the software for art, and I was searching everywhere and asking AI what do they use for art. Basically everyone was telling that Sprite is the best, and I googled it and I was like, why it looks so retro? It's like way too retro. But then I realized like, that's pixel art probably. Yeah, I got it later, okay? I got it. So I found out that I can actually download some stuff and compile the Sprite on my computer. I can use it for free, or I can pay just 20 bucks and just download the compiled version. And as I have literally zero budget for making my first ever game full time, of course I went with the first option. I tried to compile a Sprite on my Mac for the whole day, I guess. Yeah, I'm just using it for free, and I'm really glad that they have this option. When I have the full setup, I need to like create and implement some basics. I realized that first thing that everyone was doing is tile maps, and it took me a few days to understand how isometric tile maps work. I sketched out the grass blocks that are supposed to auto-connect with each other when I place them in editor, in a Godot. I tried to make it cuter, but this is all that I was capable of at the moment. Then, of course, I needed a player. I tried to draw my first player using AI references that I generated before, and I really wanted to use AI as much as possible as references because I can draw myself, but I guess it worked a little, and I was very proud of the character I created. And then I tried to build my first scene in Godot with this tile map and my player. Then I followed just what everyone else was doing. This is making animations for the player with the tools, swinging an axe up and down, and I made what I could for the front, back and side directions. But for diagonal direction, my brain just broke. Literally, I couldn't see how the axe looks like from this angle. Literally, I couldn't see that in my brain. I asked AI to generate me a reference, but even AI couldn't do that. I had to go to the internet to find anything, and I found a video of 3D axe rotating and made a screenshot of the angle that I needed. And it was so crazy. And just after I made this screenshot, I realized that what the hell am I doing? Like, this is just crazy. It would be impossible for me to draw a lot of, like, I don't know, 100 assets. I found a website with game assets, and I found Stardew Valley there. I opened a player section, and I was just shocked how many assets. I was literally freaking out, and I was completely agree with the guy who commented this. I was feeling the same way. So I realized that I just will not be able to do that, at least not for the first game. So I dropped the idea of isometric style, of course, and decided to create a basic 2D top-down. Well, the next chapter suddenly became much easier for me. And I went on YouTube for Godot tutorials and spent next 2 weeks building a basic farming minigame following an 8-hour length tutorial. I learned more about engine and how game dev works in general, and as a result I created this minigame where you can gather resources, collect some items, plant and harvest crops. The game has a day-night cycle, inventory, and I think that's it. And of course I was using all the free assets that the tutor was using as well. Although it was really fun to do, I was really upset that it took me so long to build this little game following a tutorial on x2 speed around 16 hours a day. But I had many unexpected bugs, and sometimes I didn't have features that the tutor has, and I was trying to deal with everything myself. I didn't really finish all 8 hours of the tutorial, and I decided to stop at some point where it was more complicated stuff like NPCs and dialogues. It was already way too much information for me, and as much as I was excited to wake up and doing this every morning, this was too much. Having someone constantly talking to my ears on x2 speed, I was just tired, but I was really excited to finally start working on my own idea. At first I had to redraw my character because it was 8-dimensional, and also I was thinking about that I have to create a base for any character in my game, and I managed to create a decent base for the character with different animations. Then I searched and I downloaded a lot of different, even in style and even in pixel size assets, and generated a few ugly images of grass, stone and dirt patterns in ChatGPT. So I actually wanted to build systems and mechanics first because I knew that drawing all these assets will take me forever, and it's better to have a working game first and then think about assets, because what the point of having all this art if in the end I cannot build an actual game? This was my mindset, and following it I created a new project, implemented my new player and assets, and started to recreate the mechanics I built in the mini game from the tutorial. So when I was done with all the mechanics, the next task for some reason was to draw a sketch of the game world, and you can see the shame right now. So I abandoned the idea. I got the pencil and a notebook and started drawing a house interior plan instead, because this will be the main location of the game. Also, for some reason I wanted to make a house interior as a part of the game world, not as a separate scene like in Stardew Valley. And as the house should be the main game location, it should be big. Of course I abandoned these ideas, but we'll come to that later. So I decided to use free assets to recreate this house interior in Sprite, and then placed it into Godot, and even added some collision shapes to create obstacle for a player to have a little fun. And yes, I didn't care that everything was in different pixel size at the moment. I just needed to get something that works, okay? And when I did that, I kinda didn't know what to do next. So I gathered my thoughts and was like, okay, I need to build core features first. And by features I mean core mechanics. And my core mechanics obviously are renovation ones, like cleaning the floors and walls and then repair and decorate them. That's the very basic, the first things that I thought about. So I tried to implement a state machine for this. I added lots of conditions, like that you have to equip specific tools and apply different inventory items. I don't really know if I was recording that. I will try to find if I still had the project, it will be there, but if not, you will just have to trust me that it was really challenging for me to create all that stuff. But when I managed to do the version I was picturing myself technically, and actually in the end of implementing these features, I was experimenting with using AI in my process of coding. So it actually helped me to create a small crafting feature where the player was able to pick a crafting recipe and craft a chair and then place this chair to the world. And I can actually talk on this topic for such a long time, but I don't really want to dive a lot into technical details of my journey on this channel, because my intention here is to gather a community of like-minded gamers, not exactly game developers, but if there will be some game developers who will be interested in technical stuff, I will make a few videos if you want and answer all of your questions. But right now, let's get back to the story. So at that point, I was looking at my so-called game, which had some mechanics and something was actually working, but I was not as exciting as I was expecting because of two things actually. First is because it all looked so ugly and completely not the way I was imagined, and second because I didn't have anyone to share the excitement of progress with. The reason for the second one actually the first one. And somewhere in the same period of time I stumbled upon a video of a game developer who was talking about visuals being a key if you want to have a YouTube channel, and it became a turning point for me. I realized that I was wrong all the way actually about that I should code all mechanics first and then do the visuals. I realized that I should do the opposite. So I dropped everything and decided to dive into pixel art for no matter how long it will take. So first thing I decided to draw is the house exterior this time. I spent 3 full days trying to make this not ugly, but I just couldn't. I was also struggling with perspective so much, I actually couldn't figure out how to draw all the objects in the game in one perspective with the same angle. And while trying to understand that, I actually downloaded Blender to create a 3D model of this house and screenshotted it in the right angle for the reference, but it kinda didn't help. But yeah, this is what I got by the end of my official first months of game development. Back then I felt kinda like a failure that I didn't have a game prototype already like most cool and creative aspiring game developers on YouTube. But making this video 4 months later, I actually so proud of myself because it's actually a lot. I've made a whole list of things that I did this month and I still can get over of how many things I've done. So yeah, subscribe if you want to stick around to see how I went from this to this, and if you want to support me and join my journey. And also thanks a lot for the people who already shown me support on my previous video despite the fact that I have literally 0 channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much and see you next time.